never thought much about washing my hands, other than perhaps during Passover. It was never really something to which I paid much attention. And then we entered this time, and suddenly hand washing has taken on an entirely different meaning. It has become a significant ritual in our home. We began, as I am sure many of you did as well, with happy birthday or twinkle twinkle little star, making sure we washed our hands the appropriate length of time. But soon enough, we found a blessing which is now posted at all the sinks in our home. Corona has transformed hand washing from a mindless task to a mindful ritual. The renowned psychologist Erik Erikson explored this mindless, mindful distinction. He distinguished ritualisms from rituals. Ritualisms are regular tasks we perform that are devoid of meaning. The mindless way we used to wash our hands, for instance. Rituals, on the other hand, are filled with purpose and significance. The mindful way in which we now wash our hands. This difference is not just academic. The final chapters of Leviticus warn us of the consequences of ritualisms. We find here a list of tochechot, that is, warnings of the reprisals we might suffer should we transgress the teachings of Torah. If you reject my laws, we read, and spurn my rules, I will wreak misery upon you. This list of warnings is punctuated by the Hebrew word carry. If you behave toward me with carry, refusing to listen to me, I will wreak misery upon you. The word appears multiple times in these last chapters of Leviticus, but nowhere else in the Bible, which leaves our sages to wonder just what the word means. It is understood to mean something akin to cold indifference, as in, if you treat me with cold indifference, you will be cursed. The sages expanded this warning beyond the transgressing of mitzvot to include as well the way in which we perform mitzvot. If you perform mitzvot but with carry, with indifference, with no sense of mindfulness, heart, or concern, if our acts are mindless ritualisms, it is as if we transgressed the mitzvah and is equally an affront to God. We turn from these final warnings of Leviticus to the opening verses of Numbers, which provide us this week with a dramatic contrast as it describes a census taken of the Israelites, numbering the 600,000 plus men who will stand up and be counted among the military force that will protect the nation as it travels from Sinai to the Promised Land. In these few verses, the Torah distinguishes between acting with carry versus standing up to be counted. The difference, of course, can lead to dramatically different outcomes. The fate of Jerusalem in 1967, the miracle of the Six-Day War, is, I think, one poignant example. The victory of the Israeli army in 1967 can be attributed in part to this difference. The Israeli soldiers fought with the passion, determination, and commitment that is suggested by the idiom, stand up and be counted. They knew what they were fighting for. On the other hand, my guess is, and it's only a guess, that the Arab soldiers approached their orders with much more of a sense of carry, of indifference, perhaps unsure of just what they were fighting for. It is an age-old story told time and again in the Bible, in folk literature, in comic books, and movies, and on television. It is the story of every David who with heart and conviction stands up to be counted as he confronts every Goliath who pursues his task with care, with more indifference. Commitment, heart, determination, and passion almost always prevail. No doubt you can think of examples in your own life. A time when a task, a meeting, a relationship was approached with care, rather than with an energy and passion that said, "You can count me in." And while we may not have felt God's wrath in such moments, we can certainly relate. Not getting the job, not getting the grade, not making the personal connection simply because our heart wasn't really in it. A story is told of a carpenter who is ready to retire, and his employer urges him to take just one more job. While his heart isn't in it, he agrees to the task. But with Carrie, he goes through his appointed tasks, mindlessly and carelessly building this final home. When the house is complete, his boss hands him the keys. "This is for you," he says. "It's your retirement gift." We have been doing an awful lot of counting these past weeks, counting the days we've been home, 78 to date, I believe. Counting the days from Passover to Shavuot, we are at 43 and on our way to 49 this coming Thursday evening and Friday. And this week, in our Torah portion, we find ourselves immersed in a census, counting once again. In all this counting, there is a caution against letting our personal accounting become care, ritualism, filled with mindless indifference as we simply mark the days. Instead, we are encouraged to mindfully fill these days with that which counts. After all, we must live in the house that we build. And so I pray that we each might fill our days, our words, our observances, and our actions with meaning and with purpose. May our relationships be filled with mindfulness, with love, and with commitment. And may we always endeavor to add our names to the census rolls of those prepared to stand up and be counted. Counted in for ourselves, counted in for our families, counted in for our community, and indeed, counted in for all of humanity. And to that we say, Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Amen, and Shabbat Shalom.